talking away. I don't know what else to say, I say it anyway. Today isn't my day to find you crying away. I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. Mini expansion is out tomorrow. Let's take a look at the cards. Sky Devouring Horror is the first card here. Forestcraft Legendary. This is the card that was revealed at the Shadowverse World Circuit Singapore event that I helped cast. So if you haven't seen that yet, the VOD is up on YouTube. I'll link it if you want to take a look. It's pretty cool. It's a Forestcraft Legendary that has Storm at the end of your turn. Give this follower +7/+7 if at least 7 cards are played this turn. This follower must be in your hand for this effect to activate. It's a really hard condition to get, but has a huge payoff, right? It's like a Timmy-esque win condition for Forestcraft. I guess since nobody wanted to make Deep would not work, right? Honestly, though, you might just run it as a 9.64 Storm, because it's a big guy that goes face, right? But you really just want to play this for the cool effect, I think. Because I think Forestcraft has more efficient finishers than this right now. Like, I think Green Gauntlet Axeman is probably better than this right now, and Forestcraft is just so aggressive that you don't really need 9 drops, I think. But if you want to build your deck around this, with a combo that I think the guys at Mana Surge and Bima turned me on to when they first saw this card, was that you can play Aria and Flower Fairies with a bunch of Fairy Wisps. You can bounce them back, you can get the Grasshopper Conductor, then you draw this card the same turn you buff it, which is pretty cool. But again, you have to kind of build your deck around that effect. But again, the payoff is huge too, right? So it might be a thing to look out for in the future, but I think for now, I think Forestcraft has more efficient ways to finish the game before this even becomes a factor. Like hitting you in the face a lot of times, which seems to be doing well for it so far. Moving on, we have Burst Shot. Again, this seems like a combo-y card. The gold for Forestcraft here. Again, each class has a gold and a legendary, except for neutral, which just has a gold. So that's what we're looking at these cards at. So Burst Shot, 4 play points. Spell, deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower 4 times. Enhance 10, deal damage to the enemy leader instead. Deal 1 damage more for every 2 allied fairies that have been destroyed during this match. So you can play this in a sort of deck alongside Fairy Wisp. Not Fairy Whisper. I mean, you would play with Fairy Whisper, right? But I meant Fairy Dragon and Yggdrasil. I'm trying to get the whole Fairy Sudoku combos off. I think in the 4 play point form, it's a much worse Fire Chain, and Fire Chain didn't really get that much play either. But I think the reason why it kind of underperforms at the 4-drop slot is that it's a defensive card that is also your combo finisher, and combo usually wants defensive cards, right? So it's not just dead in your hand until you assemble all the fairies. You can actually do something with it and try and play defensively until you can assemble a bigger Burst Shot later on. But it is another alternate way to deal damage to the face in a Fairy Dragon style deck. So if you want to make that combo work, by all means, but I think it's a little... Again, it's a matter of, I think Forestcraft just has better ways to finish the game right now, so I don't think it's going to be meta or anything, but definitely looks like a fun style card that you can try and work into your Fairy Dragon decks for additional finishers. Moving on here, Iron Fist Beast Warrior Swordcraft Legendary Commander, 6 play point 4/6, fanfare, put a random Swordcraft follower, excluding Iron Fist Beast Warrior, from your deck into your hand. Subtract 2 from its cost, fanfare enhance 9, subtract 9 from its cost, instead evolve, give all other allied Swordcraft followers a rush. Let's take a look at this like rationally, right? It's a 6 play point 4/6, which is not bad stats at all. It draws you a card, it discounts that card, and has additional utility without losing evolve stats, and an enhance effect. So this is just a straight up a good card that does things. Not super interesting in that it's not a card that you look at and you're like, oh, I want to build a deck around this. It's more like a card you just run if you want, you know, more fuel than draw. Like, you could run this in aggressive decks, mid-range decks. I think this helps as well because the 6-drop slot really freed up for mid-range Swordcraft with the enhanced nerf on Chromatic Duel. So you might want to run this in that. But again, it's not really that exciting, right? It's just a good thing to run to get cards and play them, as Swordcraft is wont to do. Sky Gladiator, 5 play point 3/3 gold commander. Can't be attacked whenever an allied officer comes into play. That follower can't be attacked. So, I mean, the stat line is abysmal, right? But, like, if they get this off and you can't remove it, it just becomes a disaster. So I'm not sure if I like so much the fact that Swordcraft is getting more snowbally cards. I just hope that the stat line of this is enough so that it doesn't go too out of control. Especially, like, right now when the removal has been kind of scarce, hey? The meta currently is based a lot around board v board interaction, and there's a lot of efficient board removal has rotated out and hasn't really been replaced. So this could be scary. I think if this came out a couple metas ago, it would be awful. But if this survives, it just becomes a huge hassle in your asshole, right? So you don't really want to deal with that. I just hope that the low stat line can get it out of my face if Mysteria Ruin becomes a thing, and then the Mysterian Missile will just deal with this, please. Because I do not want to deal with this card if it lives. Good thing is it is pretty low on stats. Vesper Witch Hunter, 3/3. It evolves into a 5/5. Accelerate 2. Deal 1 damage to an enemy, summon Witch's Cauldron, that's pretty good already, and it's a spell that does that, so you can't really complain about that. Fanfare Earthright, deal 3 damage to an enemy follower, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader, so it's essentially an Earthright Mysterian Missile, which is pretty nice if you want to get rid of the Sky Gladiators. Evolve, destroy an allied follower, and give this follower +2/+2, which is pretty nuts. I mean, you do lose your own allied follower, but you can try and play around that with some tokens and such. Like, I don't know, if you want to play Onion Rune, or what's it called? The Bunicorn Nick. But honestly, the Evolve effect is just cherry on top, because the Accelerate effect is really good, and the Fanfare Earthright effect is really good as well. And I think you can definitely make Mysteria Earthright work, and I think it's actually kind of a sleeper deck right now, so this sort of fits right into that. Obviously, a 4play.77 on the Evolve is also awesome, as we've seen from the likes of Impartial Strix in the past, so if you can make the Evolve effect work, then all the better. But I think this whole package here is already making this card worth running. Miss Miranda, Light Mage, 6play.33, Mysteria Gold Follower. Fanfare, and only put one of the following cards into your hand, Mysterian Missile or Mysterian Circle. And when you play a Mysteria card, subtract 1 from the cost of this card, evolve, put a Mysterian Right into your hand. So it's like a Mysterian Knowledge on a body that has Evolve, utility, and also doesn't lose any Evolve stats. I think this is one of the support cards that Mysteria purists really wanted to see. A lot of the time the Mysteria decks right now just sort of run Mysteria and War Mist and then just hit you in the face, and that doesn't really reward you for playing a lot of different Mysteria cards, right? So if you want to make that kind of deck work, this is definitely going to be an impactful card there. I mean, we know Spell Boost is good. This is basically like a more limited Spell Boost that encourages you to build towards this Mysteria thing, which I appreciate in terms of design. And getting this for free and getting a Mysterian Missile and Mysterious Circle off the top is going to be... It's definitely very promising, so this is one to watch out for sure. Warbreaker Dragoon, the Dragoncraft Legendary. This is a really exciting card for me personally as a Dragon main. Rush, 6.55, whenever this follower attacks, subtract 1 from the cost of 2 random Dragoncraft followers in your hand and give them +1/+0. So you're not paying a huge cost for getting a 6.55. It's basically about what you'd want on curve for a 6.55 Rush, right? But with the effect of subtracting the cost of 2 Dragoncraft followers in your hand and giving them +1/+0, this lets you reduce the cost of your Zoes, which is insane, or just your big storm guys, like your Azita Hakas and such. So you can end up making a pretty fearsome, I think, mid-range style Dragoncraft list with this, and then just getting your guys on the board. Because this is a tool that doesn't require an Evolve, that lets you be reactive, defensive, and then also sets up for your more impactful turns later on in the game as well, and even enabling plays that aren't even possible in the first place, like your turn 10 7/5 Zoe, right? So I think this is definitely a card to watch out for. I'm really excited to play around with this one. Poseidon, 8play.57, the gold for Dragoncraft here. Accelerate 2, summon a Poseidon's Guard. Fanfare, summon 2 Poseidon's Guards. So it is a Poseidon's Guard. It's a 2play.13 with Ward. I think this is very clearly a type of PDK support. And definitely it's one thing I want to try running in PDK here. Because on 2, the 1/3 Ward isn't bad. And it synergizes with your PDK if you want to get a bunch of guys out on the same turn. But it also curves directly after your Overflow turn. So you can play your PDK, your 3-drop, like Aficionado, and then turn 8 you play Poseidon, and then you get defensive options, a big body, and 2 PDK procs with only 1 card. So that seems pretty good to me. Again, that kind of depends on whether or not PDK is good, because I don't think that this card really fits into anything else. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll fit into that mid-range dragon type build that I was talking about, but... yeah, actually maybe so, right? Because if you play your Warbreaker Dragoon on turn 6, you can play this on turn 7. And 5/7 and 2 1/3s with Ward isn't too shabby, right? I mean, those are a lot of bodies. And again, board clear sort of moves on its way out of rotation, so this might just be a good card. But I think definitely the most obvious thing is the PDK support that I mentioned. Okay, moving on. We got Gremory, Shadowcraft Legendary. This is a really exciting card for Shadow. Fanfare in hand 6, evolve all other allied followers. Evolve effects will not activate for those followers, so basically like a free raid now, which is pretty amazing. And at the end of your turn, give all evolved allied followers last words, draw a card. So it's also like Andrealfist, right? But that's really good in itself. You can run that in a bunch of, skeleton decks. You play the things that stick, like Wraith Knight and Orator of the Bones and what have you. Then you play the Gramarye, and then you have a Fearsome board on turn 6 without having to spend any of your evolve points. And the cycle as well, which is of course really great for Shadowcraft. But in Arcus especially, this is an incredibly flexible card, allowing you to have a 1-drop, as well as on your turn 10 fairy turn with Gramarye, you can evolve your ghost and then go face for a lot of damage, which is nuts, obviously. And that means that you don't have to run Ephemera anymore, which is, I think, one of the clunkier cards in the deck. So you get to run Gramarye instead, which is a lot more flexible, and I think will probably find a home there definitely, and maybe in the whole skeleton thing that I was talking about earlier. Danua, Grim Puppet Master, 2-play-point, 3/1 clash, deal 1 to the enemy followers. So at 2 play points, it's essentially just a better Flail Knight that is more vulnerable to stuff like Mysterian Missile, but you can evolve this, and it gives all of the allied followers clash, deal 1 to the enemy follower. So basically giving that Brambles effect to the rest of your board. And I think this is a deceptively annoying card to deal with, because you can, again, build around it with a bunch of skeleton-style decks, right? But I don't know if that's impactful enough when your 2-drop evolve play is usually going to be Lady Grey, who is just absolutely bonkeroni pepperoni. So I think Danua, Grim Puppet Master has potential, especially, in a meta with fairies and puppets around. I just don't think it's the greatest evolve target right now. Alright, Thunder Behemoth. This is the legendary that everybody seems to be harshing on. And I find this really interesting because a lot of the players that I've been talking to that don't really play the game competitively see this card as really bad. At least that's the sentiment I see on the community forums and all the Reddits and such. But every competitive player I've talked to has sung the praises of this card. And that's not me harshing on one or the other. Obviously, the community has been wrong, and pros have been wrong as well. I'm just saying I find it interesting, the difference of opinion here. I think this card is actually not that bad. It's a 5-play-point 6/6 that deals free to an enemy, which is like that's just ridiculous, right? Like, if you have this going first as Bloodcraft, and you're an aggressive Bloodcraft deck, and you just play this on turn 5, that's madness. And then you can also have free clear any follower at that point in the game, and then save your evolve as well, because Bloodcraft is a very evolve-hungry class. You can have it to evolve your Viras, or your Narmayas, or your new Evil Eye Demons, which we'll talk about in a second. So this card is actually not bad. Of course, at the start of your next turn, recover 3 less play points effect is harsh. But I think Bloodcraft has enough really solid early game followers to make that not a huge problem the next turn, because you've established a 6/6 on board, potentially taking out 2 or 3 things, or hit their face for a lot of damage, and they have to deal with your board now, because are they going to leave a 6/6 up when you're aggro Bloodcraft on turn 5? Well, of course not. And how do they take that out, right? If they have super hard removal and they're spending it all getting rid of your big body, then you can spend your next turn leisurely developing your tempo as well, because they've just ceded the tempo to you. But honestly, I just want to see how it plays out, because I'm just interested in the fact that there's such a delta of opinion between the 2 player bases here. Moving on, we have the Evil Eye Demon, which is a super strong card for Bloodcraft. Speaking of Bloodcraft being greedy for evolves here. 5-play-point 5/4 Accelerate 2, deal 1 damage to your leader, deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. So on the Accelerate, it's essentially a Snarling Chains. But that's really good. Snarling Chains is really good. Like, you kind of want to be running 3 of those, right? I don't know. And on the Evolve here, for the 5-play-point 5/4 body, this is what it is vanilla if you just play it, but you usually just play it for the Evolve, right? And then you play it for the Evolve and you get a deal X damage to all enemy followers. X equals the number of times that your leader has been damaged during your turn in this match, which is amazing. That's like a Revelation style board clear right there. And this kind of effect is kind of starved in the Shadowverse rotation right now, because there's the lack of really efficient board clear lately. I mean, there's Nemesis Purge, but that costs a lot. So, and it only belongs to Haven, right? So it ends up coming up really late in the game as well. But this is super efficient. You play it for 5 play points, you evolve it. And if you don't have the evolve points anymore, well, you can be like some people I know and run Crimson Desire, or you can just use the Accelerate effect, which is a really good spell. And the Accelerate effect also ramps your Dark Feast bat as well. So if you want to play like a control-y, self-damage-y, heal-y Dark Feast bat deck, then this is definitely something that is going to be in that deck, I think. And I think Darkleaf's Bet is one of the scarier finishers right now that just doesn't have enough support tools to make it really shine in the middle. And this is definitely one of those things that might bring it there. So, really solid card all around. Might even be better than this one. And they're both 5 play point cards, but this one is definitely going places. I can definitely see this being played for sure. Zeki Baba, Forsaken God, Havencraft Legendary here. It's like the Havencraft Nephthys, right? It's 9 play point, 6/6. And only put different countdown amulets from your deck into play until your area is full and destroy those amulets. It's a really cool card to play around with, but I just am wary about these cards that make you play these terrible amulets, right? Like, people have been excited about playing Dual Flames before, but then of course the cost of that is that you have to play Dual Flames in your deck. You don't want to do that. Then this also makes Globe of the Starways a lot worse, right? Because you want your good amulets to be in the deck, and you also don't want this to be popping your globes, so you can't really play Globe of the Starways with this card. Although this card is very cool, and I think with stuff like Whitefang Temple and some of these other powerful countdown amulets that Havencraft has right now, definitely could be a powerful swing on turn 9. But I think that swing right now in this current meta might just come too late, because it's pretty aggressive right now, and I think Havencraft has better finishers before this turn. Like, I've run across some Summit Temple decks running Garuda, and they can finish you by turn 9 every single time. So I don't think that this is going to beat out that deck, but this is one of those decks that, like Nephthys, is super fun to build around and makes that experience a lot more enjoyable for the deck builders out there. So I appreciate cards like this, and you know, I think eventually this might become good if it sees enough amulet support, and of course the other tools rotating out. But I think overall, Havencraft probably has better finishers than this on turn 9. Petra, Ether of the Wind, the gold card for Havencraft here. Fanfare, select an allied follower, can't be attacked until the end of your opponent's turn. Now this is epic. This is a 1 play point 1/2 card, which hasn't really seen print in rotation. I mean, good ones haven't for a while. They've been really skimping on the 1 play point drops, right? Because they don't want the advantage of having all these early drops to snowball out of control and make aggro too unmanageable. But giving one to Havencraft here and having it have a pretty impactful fanfare effect that you can play around with, I think is they're trying to promote more aggressive Havencraft styles, because a lot of the time right now, Havencraft has been going a little later, like with finishers on turn 9, typically. So I think you can try and build something pretty creative with this, and I like the fact that they're supporting this kind of archetype. Like, they printed Hazen in the first go of this expansion, and that didn't really work out. Now they're printing more early game tools to try and make that happen. I mean, of course you can run this with Summit Temple and try and put on your Heavenly Knight as well, I suppose, but not gonna fit in a lot of the Havencraft archetypes right now, but has a home elsewhere. Malokio, the Portalcraft Legendary. 3 play point 2/2, whenever Resonance becomes active for you, gain +2/+2. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 2 damage to all enemies if this follower has at least 10 attack. This seems like a big meme. The Evolve is also a 6/2, which I didn't realize until now. That's kind of insane. But you can play this with a bunch of card draw effects, like with your meta productions and such. Try and get it to be a big dude. But at the end of the day, it's just a big dude. And it's also a 3.22 on curve. It's really not that scary. And of course, Portalcraft right now has a lot better things to do with your 3 play points. Like Silva, or the new gold, which is Kukuru Green Gunsmith. 3 play point 3/2. Whenever this follower attacks an enemy follower, deal 2 damage to the follower before it can deal any in return. With Enhanced 5, summon a Kamiyu Gunpowder Gal, and the Gunpowder Gal, the 2 play point 2/1 that deals 1 damage to a random enemy 3 times. Why did they print this when Silva? I have no idea. This card is ridiculous with Silva, and it will absolutely body boards to the point where you might not even be able to recover. Imagine how backbreaking Silva Automaton Knight into your guy is right now. It's going to be even more backbreaking when that Automaton Knight doesn't die. And it also gains continual value if it keeps allowing to attack, and before you get your evolve turn to deal with it, it's just going to be extremely oppressive if this comes on the board. Hopefully the meta with the new cards shifts enough that Portalcraft gets taken on a little bit, but with it getting a tool like this, I kind of doubt it. And again, this even has flexibility on the Enhanced 5 as well, giving you even more utility with this card. I think this is ridiculous. And finally we have Kaiser Radical Gourmand, 3 play point 2/3 neutral. Evolve, put either a Nourishing Flare or a Flaming Hot Flare into your hand. Nourishing Flare draws you a card for 1 play point and restores 2 defense to your leader if the enemy leader's defense is higher. And Flaming Hot Flare deals 2 damage to an enemy follower and deals 2 damage to the enemy leader if their defense is higher than yours as well. So I think the Nourishing Flare and Flaming Hot Flare are really good cards. by themselves and help you if you're behind, and the effect when you don't proc the secondary effect is not bad either. I'm worried about the cost of evolving a vanilla 2/3 in your deck that doesn't gain full evolve stats when you evolve it, by the way. For these spells, is that impactful enough? And I don't think so in most decks, especially when most decks also have better evolved targets than Kai'Sa, right? Shadowcraft has their Lady Greys that they always want to evolve. Portalcraft has their Basiliuses, which they already start for evolve points for a lot of the time. I think the deck that can run this the most is probably Lindworm Dragon. We'll have to see. I think overall this card it's cool to see Kai'Sa return, but I don't expect it to see a lot of competitive play. Alright, there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the new cards and the mini expansion dropping tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on these new cards. Am I right? Am I wrong? What are you looking forward to playing against? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear about it. Let's address the elephant in the room real quick. Yes, I know I haven't made a video in a while. Sorry, but I have been doing stuff in general. Like, I've been doing a lot of casting, like the tournament I mentioned before, as well as having plans coming up, like my co-stream with Kriparian coming up really soon, so make sure that you tune in for that. And also more videos on the way, of course. I think that they're going to start picking up soon. I'm a little more free in September than I have been. But honestly, it's been kind of nice to take a break, take a step back, and just stop producing content for a little bit. Let me take a breather, deal with IRL stuff, and just reset. And now I'm coming back into it, a lot more fresh face, and a lot more excited to make more content for you guys rather than begrudging it as a chore. Which I think is a dangerous trap for a lot of content creators to fall into, if they're just consistently on the grind. They just start feeling like it's not really something they want to be doing, and that's always dangerous, right? But enough of that, I'm really enjoying myself again, and I'm excited for new content coming out with this mini expansion, man. Anyway, that's it from me. Like the video if you did, don't leave it in. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. Glad I could say that. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons, for real, MVP. I've been gone for so long and these guys are still pledging to me. It's when I go on these rough life breaks that the support really matters the most. So seriously, from the depths of my heart, thank you so much. Much love. Bye-bye.